From Patrick Tobler. Hey, Charles, would you say you're competing with a community project created by your own Cardano Bitcoin bridge after seeing Bitcoin S and seeing them work together with Fluid Tokens, Maestro, and other teams? I wouldn't say that. I mean, we're building general purpose infrastructure, and that infrastructure can be used by anybody. It's just, I don't like working with partners where they say one thing, they do another thing. And I don't really understand how Cardano comes out ahead when Bitcoin OS, after they integrate with us, will simply integrate with dozens of other ecosystems. And the minute that another ecosystem looks more attractive, all the marketing shifts over there. At the end of the day, Bitcoiners are Bitcoiners. I know them very well. I lived in that ecosystem for a long time. Started the Bitcoin Education Project. And there's one thing I know about Bitcoiners. They love Bitcoin first and forever and foremost. And so if your business strategy is to enter in with a token and say, hey, we have this token and you have to use our token under the hood in order for your Bitcoin stuff to work, they will say that's not Bitcoin. They want to be able to click a button that says Bitcoin to DeFi Bitcoin, pay transaction fees in Bitcoin, interact with dApps with Bitcoin, and then when they're done, go back to Bitcoin. Now, under the hood, there can be Babel fees and wrapping and all this other stuff that goes on. That's all Cardano jiu-jitsu and magic. But in the wallet, it's only Bitcoin. And if you're there, I think you'll actually be very successful. And you'll get a lot of adoption and excitement within the Bitcoin ecosystem. But remember, this ecosystem criticized ordinals. There. And so here's the other problem with Bitcoin OS is that the white paper says a lot of stuff, but under the hood, cryptographically speaking, not all that stuff is done and tested. There aren't really good security proofs. There's really not an end-to-end design that showcases how to do this well. And that was one of the things we brought to the table. We have the scientists, we have the engineers, we know how to write cryptographic proofs, we know how to belt and suspenders everything so that these bridges don't get damaged. Because let's be real here. Anytime assets move from one blockchain to another blockchain, that is a point of attack. And we've witnessed literally billions of dollars in hacks. Billions. In fact, the only time I've ever lost money in the cryptocurrency space from a hack was the Nomad bridge being hacked and the wrapped coins that were sent over from the Ethereum ecosystem being stolen on that side. It's the only time I ever lost any money. It was a bridge hack. So this is the single most important bridge we're building in 2025. And we have to be 100% certain that it has a great user experience, 100% certain that it has rigorous cryptography behind it, 100% certain that it operates at a reasonable cost, and also that it's really easy for wallets to integrate in. Now, you referenced Maestro. I own part of Maestro. I'm an investor. We know that team really well, and we think they're great guys. We also know the Block Frost guys because they're part of the family. We know a lot of the other dApps. And here's the thing is when you create an integration, we're going to work and make sure that the development model makes sense, the cryptography makes sense, that the bridge mechanisms look good, and there's an easy way to integrate this into wallets. And Lace will have that integration. We'll go talk to Vesper and all the other people and find a way to make sure that that integration gets done. And then the Bitcoin wallets and do the same. And that can be done in 2025. It's an enormous amount of work. The teams have to really push aggressively. There's going to be a layering of different technologies because it's not a panacea. The claims that are being made that it's instant and amazing and all these things are great, it's not completely true. And there's a lot more work that needs to be done to create a good user experience. But that's our expertise. That's what we do for a living. We're not as good at the consumer products, but we're really good at the cryptography. We're really good at writing papers. We're really good at understanding what's real and what's not real and building things that stand the test of time, as evidenced by world wars. And if that's the foundation upon which people want to build on top of, they're well more than welcome to do that. And here's the thing, it's an open ecosystem. And people can do whatever the heck they want to do in an open ecosystem. They choose any standard that they want. And there are a lot of good standards out there, especially with wrapped Bitcoin. And there's a lot of people like Rosenbridge and Wan Chain and others, and they're doing good work. And they have great trust assumptions for the most part for many users. And there are other people that they want trustless recursive setups and they want things to be completely validated on chain and Bitcoin to do things. But I said, look, Bitcoin's going to be part of the story of Cardano now forever. And it would behoove us as core developers not to get involved in that. Learn more about Bitcoin script, learn about the design of BitVMX, write a compiler for Aiken to RISC-V, which is the core of BitVMX, so that you can transpile Bitcoin script and also to UPLC with one pipeline. Write once, run everywhere. That was what made Node so remarkably successful. Your JavaScript worked on the front and the back, and it was just JavaScript everywhere. So Aiken everywhere, for example. These are some of the things we consider and we think about. And then you also have to think about cross-chain communication. So how does the Bitcoin side communicate with the Cardano side? And under what circumstances do you need to do that? Talking about a liquidity pool, or are you talking about just a multi-chain signature? There's a litany of considerations that come into the way people think. And then also, what use cases are you talking about? Restaking, lending, DEXs, et cetera, et cetera. Each of them carry different user flows and different requirements. So it's a broad conversation, and Cardano DeFi is going to be involved every step of the way in this conversation. But I can't put my fingerprints on it, my seal on it, till I know that the cryptography works. And I'm very confident in the security model. Because at the end of the day, if we build something and a year down the road, there's $1 billion worth of Bitcoin in it and it gets hacked and all the money's stolen, that's a catastrophe that will badly damage Cardano's credibility and probably end Cardano's ability to be the DeFi layer of Bitcoin. It'll go somewhere else, and it'll take many years for the brand to recover. So this is not something that you half-ass or rush, and it's not something you write a white paper. You say, I've written the white paper, it's done. You need evidence and proof. You need an adversarial model. You need the application of formal methods in the process of building these. And you need to have absolute certainty that you know you're doing. And you have to layer multiple solutions together as a belt and suspenders. And so when you put those things, then and only then do I think works. Now, the counter argument is, well, we need to move really quickly. The bull market is here and we have to get these things done. Okay, well, the introduction point of this to the Bitcoin community is going to be Bitcoin 2025. That's May. I don't know a better place to do that. And I don't think that that's like super slow. If it's now in 5 months, that's pretty fast. And these are the OGs who are working on this. We're not white labeling the technology. We're going to the source and blending both sides together to get these things done. And also, we're now a member of the community, as I have been reminded repeatedly about. We're no longer IO, and then there's the community. There's now just one community, just one, Patrick. And we're part of that community. So there's competition inside the community for hearts and minds, just like there's min swap versus Sunday swap. So there's alternative approaches, and people can decide what approaches that they like, and they can make decisions accordingly. And if there's a phobia to working with IO, fine. They'd have to be specific about what the issue is. Hundreds of white papers peer-reviewed by Hoskinson himself, making them all meaningless. You speak of things you know nothing about. Do you know what crypto is? Do you know what Eurocrypt is? Do you know what CCS is? Do you know any of these conferences? No, you don't. And thus you get banned. Banned and delete, and you're gone. Goodbye. Goodbye. Are you familiar with Whitney Webb? Yeah, I actually thought about suing her. So Whitney Webb is somebody in the alt-right sphere, and the problem with these journalists is they start connecting dots that aren't there, and then they start saying things that are not only inappropriate, they're slanderous and libelous. So to bring people up to speed, Whitney is claiming that our involvement in Ethiopia is in partnership with SingularityNet and basically part of a New World Order conspiracy to harvest children for Epstein or something Epstein-like. She said this with no evidence. She said this with absolutely no idea what she's talking about. And it's gotten to a point where, because she's repeated it multiple times, she would meet the definition of somebody we could sue. And we've considered it. Just we're busy and there's things going on. But I take these things very seriously. You know, we worked very closely with the Department of Education, the Ministry of Education in Ethiopia, to do a program where we tried to get K through 12 students to have DID credentials, self-sovereign identity. That was a deal that we made a lot of fanfare about. We signed years ago. It was a very difficult deal, and there's a blog post we posted about how it ended up, where we were able to get some students on, but the war was very challenging, and we couldn't get where we needed to go with it. Now, one of our partners, SingularityNet, had an office in Addis Ababa. And the Epstein connection apparently comes that Hanson Robotics, a firm that built some of the robots that Ben Gortzel does, got some money from one of Epstein's many foundations years ago. There's no material connection. There's no Lolita Express. There's no island. There's none of these things. But her logic is that because we know Ben, because he also had an office in Addis Ababa, that apparently Ben is working for Epstein or his people, and we're collaborating then with Ben to get those children into a system where we can identify everything so that they can then be harvested for adrenochrome or whatever the hell she thinks they're harvesting for. It's dangerous to say these types of things because not only are they not true, some people who believe these things actually take action and they try to kill you. I have to defend you. You're part of the New World Order. Oh no, I'm a WEFer. I've been exceedingly critical of WEF and Klaus Schwab and all these people in this inner circle. Exceedingly so. I went to Davos once. I was disgusted with it. Despite the fact that I've been invited multiple times to go back, I chose not to because I don't like who these people are and what they do. But in Whitney's world, I work for them. And she can believe that till the cows come home. But you can't say that we're harvesting data from Ethiopian children so that they can be preyed upon by sex predators. You just can't say that. It's illegal and it's a crime. And at some point, we probably will sue her and we'll win and destroy her reputation, and rightfully so, you know, because this is just not okay for people to say these types of things. The only reason we haven't done it is just time. It just takes time to put these things together. But, you know, eventually. And that just makes me sad, too, because I don't know why people do these types of things. You know, same issue with Alex Jones and Sandy Hook or, you know, any of these other stuff. They conflate propaganda with reality, and eventually they cross thresholds, and then they spend the rest of their career trying to walk it back, but they've already caused grievous harm.